Hello, everybody. It's 6:12 p.m. Central Time on the 29th of November, 2023. It's Wednesday here in the United States. Hope you are doing well. We are here to talk about seismic events. In case you don't know where you're at, you're looking at the Earthquake 3D program. I don't get anything for recommending it, but I will get it on the screen here. You guys should use a program like it to look at the earthquakes around the planet and use as many agencies as you can to report, not just the USGS, for instance. We use Geophone Potsdam, we're using Geoscience down in Australia and so forth to get a better view. Now, I need to bring you up to speed on what struck because yesterday a large earthquake, 6.5 to 6.7, struck over here at Papua New Guinea next to where the big volcanic blast happened this past week. So, big blast, in case you didn't hear about it, the largest blast on the planet for the year took place here at Papua New Guinea last week at Ulawan Volcano. Started out at 60,000 feet, FL600, then dissipated out to 50 and 40 over the course of the day that happened. And kind of no talk about it at the time that it happened. But anyway, talk about it overseas, but you didn't really hear about it on our news in the West, did you? Now, we have two sets of deep earthquakes that are raised high off the planet here. You can see them. They're raised like TV antenna or bunny ears off the planet there. We have over at Fiji and all the way over here at Indonesia. Now, I do need to get something open here. Let's try and pull a USGS reported quake. We're going to open up the USGS plate boundary map. Well, that's not the USGS, is it? Hold on. Let's open up a USGS plate boundary map so we can see the red lines of the plate boundary. Now, if you're a new viewer, you just take a look at the screen. You'll see these red lines all over the planet. These are different plate boundaries between, for instance, the Pacific and the Indo-Australian plate. So the red line boundary there. Now, down below where they meet, where the Indo-Australian plate meets into the Pacific, we have deep earthquake here, and we have a deep earthquake here. So I would call this the far western side of the Pacific. We have deep earthquake activity down below these plates. And then coming up in between where the deep earthquakes are, again, you can see them easily here, sandwiched in the middle, or the rough middle point, a big break. Not just earthquake, but like I said, big volcanic blast at Ulawan Volcano there as well. That's where we're starting out this update because we got the new big earthquake next to the volcano that erupted last week. And I've told my viewers to look for this for many, many years. We actually got into somewhat of a debate with professors who said that there was no seismic activity that follows up big blasts. Or before either. Big debate about that. Well, I think that's settled now, isn't it? Now let's talk about Australia. Check this out. So, when I issued my last forecast, we talked about watching two different locations and a third in the middle. Well, what happened? Look, Kangaroo Island, Adelaide, southeast down by Sydney, Melbourne, southeast Australia, all in the 2.2 range. 2.2, 2.2, 2.2, and then downgraded to 2.1 at Kangaroo Island directly. And then over to the west, look, 2.2, and a 2.4 struck today, but 2.2, well, okay, that's 2.2s across the board. Down at Perth in the southwest, down at Adelaide and Kangaroo Island in the southeast. If you go back and listen to my update from a few days back, warning these specific areas, but we are 1.8 magnitude under expected. That's 100 times less power than I'm expecting to go down to southeast and southwest Australia. We were looking for this to go up into the 4 range. 2 magnitude difference. So here we are, and is this it? Well, today is day 4 of the 7-day watch. All the locations started to move. The only thing missing is a missing magnitude and a half. We should see it. We should see somewhere sandwiched in between these 3 sets of quakes, a new 4-point-something quake striking 4.5. So 2 magnitudes higher from where we are now. However, timing and location, again, spot on. Down at Kangaroo Island and down at Perth all started to move. So if you're new here, let me just quickly explain. We get the deep earthquakes down below. A wave, seismic wave, electrical induced from the core of the earth, is coming up. And when it hits the undersides of the plates, it then spreads out following these red lines, and it drops off the earthquakes along the way as the wave spreads. So this is the course of events that causes the earthquakes. Now that we get down to Australia, you can see back up where we have our arrow, energy came flowing in. It flowed down this way and down this way to both sides of the actual cratons, which make up Australia. Now the same thing is happening, but it's following these red lines up to the north, up into Japan, following the plate boundaries. So while it went across Australians' cratons, it also is going following the plate boundaries like a river. So let's go over and take a look. Look at the same sized earthquakes. Let's get all the smallers out of there and just see the 5s and greater. So here's 5 and greater going up to the north. You see it. 5.0 over at Okinawa. 5.0 over at Izu Ridge. Now let's zoom in and show you where Okinawa is. This tiny little island here, right here, next to where the earthquake is. And I mentioned Okinawa in my last update, talking about watching for the same sized earthquakes at both sides of this diamond-shaped plate boundary. Let's go back to the USGS plate boundary map. So we got a 5 here and a 5 here. Previously, we had a 7 here and 5 here. Now, I'm looking for a 6-point-something quake to be striking in the next 3 days, South Kyushu. This is Kyushu in Japan. We go down into the Ryukyu Islands. There's Okinawa. That prompted me to warn Okinawa. Well, we're 2 magnitudes under here as well. This is going to be a common theme to the rest of this update. 2 magnitudes under across here as well. And then look where all 3 sets of rings now overlap. All 3 sets of rings overlap on mainland Japan instead of down at the Ryukyu Islands. So now that this earthquake struck, spot on in location, spot on in time, 2 magnitudes under. It has now further refined the area down to watch. So it's kind of made it like a target where 3 sets of rings overlap. We're at the H-shaped plate boundary here on the north side. You see it here. It's like a diamond shape. And we're on the north side of the diamond. We're right at the H-shaped plate boundary. Here's Tokyo, south of there. We have to watch there now for the 6.5 to strike, now that the new 5s struck on both sides of the diamond. Speaking of 5s, again, we're looking at everything. What are we looking at? 4.8 and greater? Let's get the 4.8s out of there. There it is. So going over to the west, over across Sumatra, Indonesia, up right next to Myanmar. Let's show you where that is. It's all going to make sense in about 2 seconds, guys. Going around the bend of the plate up into Myanmar right here. 5.0 earthquake there. We have 5s going up to Japan. We have 5s going over to the west. We have 5s going over to the east. All the same size quakes spreading out in all directions from where our deep earthquakes are coming up from down below. Going over to the west even further, we take a step down from 5s into upper 4s. So we go from 5 to 4.6, 4.7, 4.6 to 4.7, 4.6 to 4.7. And I'm showing you everything 2.0 and greater. So you see it, 4.6, 4.7, 4.6, 4.5, 4.6, 4.4, and a 4.8. Now, I made a post on this. Check this out. A rare earthquake struck on land. This is at Oman. But let's go get the coordinates for this and put it in on good old Google Earth. Google Earth. You have to say it like that to make it actually... All right, you know what I mean? It's not like they're like bright individuals over there. Okay, anyway, let's get the coordinates and go put them in on Google Earth. There it is. Good old Google. Oh, we're already there. I looked it up yesterday, but let's just paste the coordinates in. That's right. Google Earth on the web app actually remembers where you looked up last. Okay, so here we are. We're at Oman. There's Saudi Arabia. We're going to zoom in. Normally, we're out in the ocean. There's something here next to the location. Now, never mind the name there. That's not to be pronounced the way that it's written. And it just looks like desert, right? Yeah. Uh-oh. I'm seeing some pipeline. I'm seeing some lined ponds to collect any water that they could possibly get. Now mix that water with what's in the tanks to go down into the ground to do some kind of fracking. Now, before you say, oh, that's just one location, Dutch. It's a huge, huge operation. Look at this. So these are all just like what we would see maybe in California or in Texas. And, well, of course, we know that they're well known for oil. But here, they even have When was this imagery? Date attribution 5/13/2023. 2023, they're out there with a drill crew drilling with it. They got the derrick, they got the drill, they got it all up. Okay, anyway, this is a huge oil and gas pumping operation around town. This is the pumping operation. There's the town. So it's pretty rare to get the earthquakes on land there. We're out in the ocean normally. Let me show you what's out in the ocean. Out here. We're on the edge of the Indo-Australian plate boundary normally, but now we're interior at the drill points in Oman. What does that mean? That means that the wave is being absorbed into the plate into Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman. This means, most likely, somewhere between Turkey and where the quake struck in Oman, we're going to be getting a significant sized earthquakes in the next 7 days. The plate is absorbing some of the energy instead of it going around. Let me show you what it normally does. Normally it goes around and meets back up here in Turkey. So, being absorbed, the wave coming out of this plate, going into this plate. Can you tell me what the difference is between this plate and this plate? Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. Size. So this is a small plate on the side of the huge plate that's moving, and it's absorbing the energy instead of it going around. We have to issue a warning from everybody from Turkey all the way down to Oman, and that puts Iraq. If I were to look for the quake to strike, I would watch between these two sets of quakes. Not as the crow flies, not just a straight line. If we do a straight line, though, we go right through the Persian Gulf, right up through Iran, and back up into Turkmenistan? Hold on. The Eastern Caucasus. The Caucasus Mountains. You guys know the Caucasus Mountains go right up into Ukraine, right? That's where they start. That's so crazy, right? All right. Oh, yeah. Hey, I forgot to mention. Big shout out to Jason at Dark Horse Genetics. Go over to my community page. Check this out if you guys want to. I was invited to be a judge at a cup. I can't make it, unfortunately, this weekend, but big shout out to everybody there. Pretty cool, right? All right. Anyway, Saudi Arabia, we're going to watch in here, and I would watch between the two sets of quakes on the plate boundary, which then puts us, if we go down, over, around, and back to Oman. Well, that's a hard call. It's going from Iran into Iraq. So that's where we would watch. We would watch somewhere down here at southwest Iran, southeast Iraq, next to the plate boundary, the rough halfway point between the plate that's absorbing the energy and where the energy normally goes around. Okay? Next 7 days, and size magnitude, we'll just put it at 6.5. That's what we're dealing with over here at this side of the plate. Or that's what we're dealing with here, 6.5. I'm looking for sixes to go up into Japan. Stands to reason we should see it go over to the west. This whole thing is compensating on a 6 basis right now. Now, I have a warning going across the entire Pacific over here for a potential large earthquake to strike Central America into South America. We have to let everybody know from Guatemala, where the letter V is here, all the way down through Panama, into Colombia, down to Peru and Ecuador. But the main center of it being right here, and I'm looking for 7.0. Now, the likelihood of them feeling it as far south and as far north as that is pretty slim, but when I have a big earthquake like this and we have a huge compensation movement taking place on one side of the plate, the other side, look, I've already got the warning out there, so I'm not rescinding it. We have 3 more days to go in the warning. 7-day watch, we're 4 days in. So right here is where we're looking. We're looking for similar sized earthquakes to what struck this past week on the opposite side. And what struck this past week on the opposite side? Take a look. 7 and a 6.5. So we're looking for somewhere between a 7 and a 6.5 to strike on this side. Back and forth like a tennis match takes place when the plate starts to shift in a major shift event like what's taking place now. I'll call it that because it seems like with the 50, 60,000 foot eye blast, the multiple 7s and 6s striking around the area, that this is starting to turn into one of those kind of things. Not just a localized event, but it's starting to affect the whole plate. Add in the M is in Magnolia or Mongolia, class flare that just happened, and it's M9, so it's right on the edge of what we would consider a low X, but it's in the M range. But anytime we get into upper M, low X, we start to see within 3 days the arrival of the charged particles to Earth in the solar wind, if it's Earth facing at all. And those charged particles create air glow at the North Pole and South Pole. Sometimes the air glow, the northern lights, they come down into the North American continent and come down into Europe sometimes when there's a huge charged particle event hitting Earth. Well, those charged particles, that's power. That's actual electricity in the upper atmosphere and ionosphere. That goes down to ground. So it takes 3 days for those charged particles to get to the North Pole and South Pole. 3 days for them to physically travel from the sun to here. Once they get here, it takes another day for that glow to happen, the northern lights, southern lights. Then 3 days after that, we see it go down to ground and come back up. So once the charged particles are absorbed at the North Pole and South Pole, they go down to the core of the Earth. Then, within 3 days, coming back up as a whole bunch of new deep earthquakes and major, large, shallow earthquake activity accompanying that when the deep earthquakes come vibrating up. So what's vibrating up? Very low frequency of some kind. The core of the Earth is vibrating like a bass drum. Plasmas emanate and emit low frequencies. So if the core of the Earth is a plasma, which it is, then it's vibrating out low frequency electricity in a huge low frequency wave that comes up and hits the undersides of the plates. Then it follows these red lines, the wave. That gets into the United States. Check it out. 4s striking across the West Coast, 5s up in Alaska, and I don't know what's going on with Hawaii here. We were looking for Hawaii to go up to 4-point-something level activity so far over the past several days. The biggest they got was 3.1. That was back on the 26th, 3 days ago. A full magnitude and a half under, almost 2 magnitudes under here as well. That's the third place where I'm 2 magnitudes under. We are 2 magnitudes under across the board pretty much, except for the big 7. So what's going on? We'll get into that by the end of this update. I'll talk about what I think's going on with the 2 magnitude difference. So, Hawaii, what's going on? Your spectros are being added in over on 2 Pineapples. You need to go check out 2 Pineapples stream. I put out a link to that. And that's them showing all the spectros. Awesome to see. You can watch the volcano's heartbeat real time. You can also see the tilt meters, which show the volcano breathing. It's kind of going up and down. The tilt meters are going up and down by, is that centimeters? Or is it millimeters? Pretty sure it's centimeters. It's a lot. But don't worry, it doesn't mean a huge blast yet. I think we will see thousands of small earthquakes or a single large noteworthy event before any kind of seismic release takes place in the volcano itself. Well, a volcanic release from the seismic coming in. So what happened this past week? We went up to 3s. I was looking for this to go up into upper 4s. So 2 magnitude difference so far. And then up in Alaska. Alaska, we were talking about watching for up to 6.5. Well, look at that. It's like, I guess I'm dyslexic on that, or maybe Mother Nature is. 5.6 ended up striking at the Aleutian Island chain up here. Look at that. We're on the red lines again. 6.5 is what we were looking for, and instead we get a 5.6. This is out next to Veniaminoff volcano, west-southwest of Veniaminoff volcano. Let's go look at the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and just see what it shows for today. We have Fuego in Guatemala, Semeru in Indonesia. These are regular eruptors. Santiaguito in Guatemala, that's a regular eruptor as well, but that's to resuspended ash, so it's not from a blast right now. Popocatépetl, light emissions. Krakatau, hey, hold on. 7,000-foot high blast recently in the past few hours from Krakatau over in the West Pacific, as well as a 7,000-foot high blast at Bagana volcano at Papua New Guinea. Hold on. Hold up. Krakatau and Bagana. This matters. Hold on. Manam. Manam is back, too. Look at that. A 7,000-foot high blast at Manam as well. Krakatau, Manam. Wow, okay. And Bagana. All right. Stop what we're doing, because I'm about to ruin. All right, okay. Go into a wrap there. Check it out. Right here where the big blast happened at Ulawan with the 50 and 60,000-foot high blast, the biggest of the year. I'm sorry, Ulawan right here at this crescent-shaped peninsula. Well, you have the 2 other volcanoes we just mentioned. So we have Manam blasting at 7,000-foot high blast, and then jump over to the west, and we have Mount Krakatau all the way over here. So Bagana, Manam over here, and Krakatoa over here. And then the 60,000 foot high blast in the middle between Bagana and Manam. Something's going on there. We have multiple large earthquakes, 3 simultaneously erupting volcanoes now, and it's spreading the 7,000 foot thing over here, over along the plate boundary, over to Mount Krakatoa, which is the son of Krakatoa. You guys have all heard of Krakatoa before, I think. Let's go back over and just take a look one more time at the USGS plate boundary map, show you where this all is. So we have Ulawan, Manam, and Bagana, all 3 right in here on this section of the plate boundary at Indo-Australia. All blasting, plus a 6.5 earthquake mixed in. You jump over here, and on the plate boundary here at Krakatoa, we have a 7,000 foot high blast, which Krakatoa appearing back on the list. We go up north. I haven't even talked about this in this update, but we have the new island which formed off the side of Iwo Jima, which is here at the Izu Ridge. That happened 2 weeks ago. A lot of volcanic going on over here in the West Pacific all of a sudden. And for Hawaii to go quiet like this, I don't know. We have the earthquake next to Vinea Manoff volcano up here, 5.6. I don't know. Okay, let's get into the United States lower 48. So you'll be able to see it. 4.3 earthquake out off the coast. This is at the Blanco fracture zone. To see the Blanco fracture zone, maybe I should go over to good old Google Earth. Might be able to pull it up here. I don't know if my place marks will come up, though. Hold on. Let's turn them on, see if they populate. I've got so many place marks that it's probably going to crash my DSL connection. Oh, well, some of them are. Some of the Smithsonians are populating on land. We're not getting the ones out in the ocean. Okay, I can just turn it off. Screw it. So here is the Blanco fracture zone going down to the Gorda Escarpment. These are volcanic fracture zones, and you should be able to see the undersea mounts, the lines of undersea volcanoes, cones under literally at the ocean floor, and they make up this whole area, and they go across here. Okay, we're at a volcanic segment out in the ocean where a 4-point-something quake struck. This 4.2 down the south, there's actually something at the location that's very significant. I've showed it before. I have to laugh and kind of giggle about it because it's just so weird what's here. I don't know what to tell you about it other than they tried to say these were weird underwater bathymetric measurements, that just sonar problems that were coming back. But now there's higher resolution imagery of it, and it's still there. These are 200-foot variations somehow. They're like depressions. This is 5,000 feet down underwater. This goes back into something in the United States, a giant plate feature that goes back to the central U.S. here where I live in Missouri, which I've talked about in previous videos. I don't want to get into it too hard, but up here in Missouri, we have this giant structure here that's in the shape of a star fort, or a piece of a star fort. It's 5-sided, pentagonal. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's right here. It makes up a good part of the plate. And it points like an arrow down here, and if you just draw a straight line through it, you go through a few military bases, out through the center of it, and it brings you right down here to this thing that comes out at 5,000 feet down in the 5,000 feet down. Okay, so word up and much love on that. Don't want to get too weird on you. Star forts and stuff. What's a star fort? Well, kids, I hate to break it to you. There's some weird stuff going on in the world. I mean, there was some weird stuff going on in the world. Long time ago. Pre-flood. Yeah, there was a flood. I hate to break it to you. Now, you see there's a line of quakes. It goes across the United States. It actually goes somewhat north and south over here in the western states, following the continental divide, the mountain ranges. Now, the mountain ranges themselves define the Craton. And we follow the Craton edge from up in Yellowstone, where there's a few small earthquakes. Do not be alarmed by the small earthquakes up in Yellowstone. You'll notice there's huge stacks of earthquakes down to the south. We're going to be paying more attention to that. Now, up at Yellowstone, though, even the untrained eye should be able to make out that this line of earthquakes comes in from the northwest and goes down to Yellowstone Park. Also, line of earthquakes comes in from central Idaho and goes over to Yellowstone Park. And it makes somewhat of an arrow-like shape, does it not? See that? Here, let me turn the numbers off here so you can see. Okay. Now, the reason I've got arrows up here to begin with is because about 9 years ago, I noticed that there were lines of earthquakes making an arrow-like shape pointing into Yellowstone. And then the same sized earthquakes would then show up down to the south in the direction that the arrow of quakes is pointing. So the quakes make an arrow shape. That's why I put arrows on the map to begin with, to let you know there's a flow that focuses in on Yellowstone. Then it focuses on the edge of the craton and follows the drill points down through Colorado, down through Texas, back up to Oklahoma. And every single one of these quakes is at a drill point from Colorado down through Texas, back up into Oklahoma. Every single quake next to a drill spot. I'm not against oil and gas at all. You'll find this happening out west next to the volcanoes and the geothermal drill points, the shallow drill points for just getting steam. You'll find it out on the west coast. So I'm not against steam, just like I'm not against oil and gas. I just have to show you that this seismic wave seeks out these points. Path of least resistance, simply put. All right, now let's zoom in and show you. Let's go prove to you that each one of these spots from Colorado down through Texas, back up into Oklahoma, these 3 sets of quakes, well, if you want to call them sets, swarms of quakes, they're all at fracking and oil and gas drill points. Once you get to the Midwest over here, you're at the New Madrid seismic zone, literally next to the town of New Madrid. Over on the East Coast, this brings us in next to a military base. Don't want to get into hot water. I might not even show you that. But I will show you here in southern Colorado, again, oil and gas companies are not to blame for this. This wave always traveled through these areas, the seismic wave. It always traveled through these areas. You know how I know it always did? The mountains are there. They're folded and bent in the way and the edge of the craton because of the wave that travels across. So the drill points there are really just showing us the wave as it comes across. They're like gauges. Think of it like a tire gauge or a pressure gauge. It's not releasing the pressure. The drill points aren't causing the quake either. It's tapping in and letting us know what size wave is currently going across the plate. And look at all the drill points here. So if you were using this like a tap into your tire to see the pressure that's in the tire, it's a 2-point-ish pressure. And then you go down to the south and lo and behold, look at that. 2.2 to 2.3 maxing out down in Texas, 2.2 to 2.3 in central Texas, 2.2 to 2.3 over in Oklahoma. So the seismic wave pressure, if you will, going from the drill points in Colorado down to Texas, back up into Oklahoma, is 2.3 today. The biggest of the bunch, a 3 in the middle between all the 2.3s. Let's go look up that 3 down in Texas, prove to you that these are drill points down in Texas. I shouldn't need to prove this to you. It is so well known about Texas and the millions of drill points. We can even dwarf what you have in Saudi Arabia. No exaggeration when you see the number of drill points. So, yeah, I mean, here, we're zooming in on what looks like cattle watering area, correct? Okay, well, maybe it is, but in the area where the cattle are, you've got tanks, pumps, jacks, pipelines, all that stuff. Here's the shadow of the jack of the bump. And like I said, Saudi Arabia would blush if they could see the amount of drilling that actually goes on here in the United States. This is just one Texas county. And we get into what I would call insane overdrive. Look at this. Every one of these little specks on the ground is a different drill point. Like I said, this is just one Texas county. They get on top of each other so much that you have to zoom in to see it. Look at this. Insane overdrive drill points, right? Okay. Again, one Texas county right there. It's the whole region has been drilled that way tens of millions of times, I would say. So a 3 in the middle, what's going on? That wave is going down, around, and back up and reflecting back into itself. Standing wave style. It's reaching as far east. A little bit of it is reaching into the New Madrid seismic zone. So the wave is coming down, going back, coming down, going back. And it builds up in the middle. And in the middle, the combined total is a 3. Bunch of 2.3s adds up to a 3. Do I need to prove to you Oklahoma and the drill points? And I'm just pulling one earthquake out of the whole bunch. You guys can go look up the rest. It's a well-documented fact. Same for down south. It's southeast Texas, down by Snyder, Texas, all drill points. Once we get over to the New Madrid, like I said, there is no drilling going on there. And then a military base, which I don't even know if I want to get into. Why wouldn't I want to get into that? Well, I am into truth. You guys know I don't sugarcoat stuff. I will tell you when I find stuff. But there's, a time and a place for everything. Do we really care about a 1.9 next to a military base? I would say it's probably some kind of construction going on there, right? Wouldn't you think? So I don't need to show it to you. I mentioned the town of New Madrid, Missouri, did I not? Okay. I don't know if the town names are going to be popular. Here's Caruthersville. Why are the town names not coming up? That's really odd. I mean, Caruthersville in Haiti is populating. That's really weird. That the name New Madrid is not coming up. Am I just missing it? No. No, I'm not. Now it appears maybe I just have to wait for my DSL to populate. That's what it is. I'm on a slow connection. Of course. Gotta remember, I'm on a slow connection, man. So, all right. Anything else going on? Let's jump back over on the West Coast now. Now that I've showed you what's across from, well, you know about Yellowstone. I shouldn't need to tell you about that. This arrow of earthquakes is coming from up here. And the wave that's coming in from up here actually goes back to up here. So what about in between the two? Well, the USGS doesn't show you the quakes, guys. You have to consult the Canadian feed. You have to go consult the Canadian site. Natural Resources of Canada /earthquake/ ... You're not going to get it. So if you go check the USGS site, it's blank. It shows nothing. Meanwhile, there's actually a line of quakes that actually goes across here that are about the same size as coming out of Alaska. And if USGS showed you the quakes, you would see a connection of earthquakes going from Alaska down into the Northwest. And then you would see the connection of quakes going into the arrow and down to Texas. And you would realize real quick that there's a connection of quakes going from Alaska through Canada down to the United States and across it. And they don't want you to see that because they said it's not happening. Yes. Here, hold on. I'm an Obi-Wan, you guys. Hold on. I pull up in my hover car. These are not the earthquakes you're looking for. I wave my hand. Obi drives a Jetson car, right? Okay, so we have a line of quakes coming in from Alaska going down into the Northwest, and you're omitting the small quakes coming across because then you'd see it, and then that would defeat everything that they said, which that there's no connection of anything. And what there is a connection of is a seismic wave. We're calling this the SLF, not the super low frequency, or you could call it the QLF, quake low frequency. It's a electrical induced piezoelectric in the plate wave that's low frequency or greater, ultra low frequency or extremely low. And then it passes through the plates and it drops off the quakes along the way as the wave goes around the plates. It's the force that causes the quakes that the professionals said couldn't exist. They said all the quakes are randomly happening by tension that they don't know where it's coming from. Okay. So, never mind the line of quakes. Again, waving my hand. Never mind the quakes going down along in a diagonal line down through California's creeping section down to the south. And never mind the earthquakes going across the California-Nevada border in the same trajectory. And never mind the earthquakes coming in from the northwest going in the same trajectory, northwest to southeast. This is the full week's worth of quakes. Diagonal line coming in from the northwest. Line coming in from the west, pointing in at Yellowstone. Going back up to the northwest, you see it. It's like a shield. This is the receiving end of the earthquakes coming out of no earthquake zone, right? The whole week, right? Sure. Then you see it breaking around California like a rock in a river, going across eastern California and down along the coast, like a wedge shape. Then you see it focuses over to the east. This is the 1 week's worth of earthquakes from the USGS. So you'd have to almost be blind to not see this at this point. I showed this to the professionals. They said it was all chance. 9 years ago, they said it was chance. It's happened every day since. And every day before, but they dismissed it. All right, now let's go in and look in Southern California because this is where we're going to finally be getting into the earthquakes that struck of any significance. This past week, I had a warning going between this 3.4 and this 3.5. Almost perfectly between it if you go down along the coast. I was looking right here where I'm moving my mouse. We were looking right here for a significant quake to strike in Ventura, California at the drill points. So what happened? Instead, both sides moved. So it's a flop for me. I'm trying to get it within 200 miles and within a magnitude. Technically, these are within 200 miles and a magnitude. It divided on both sides of the area instead of focusing in. Let me show you what focused in and what I was looking for to happen. We're going to go back to the USGS plate boundary map, but this time we are going to also reference the U.S. faults. Okay, Southern California. Here's the San Andreas, comes down, goes over, and down into Mexico, into the Imperial Fault. Now, right here, I was looking for the significant quake to strike right here. And if we zoom in, you'll see there's one big fault that goes southwest to northeast, or northeast to southwest. That's the Garlock Fault. The rest of the faults are all going the opposite. They're going northwest to southeast. This is going southwest to northeast. See that? I don't even know if I said that right. Anyway, it's going in the opposite direction than the others. And now let's get, if I'm looking out here for a significant quake to strike, and instead here and here, we get two somewhat noteworthy quakes. What's going on? Apparently it divided on both sides of this, which is the Mojave Desert. Down to the south, we go down into East LA. Up to the north, we're in the southeast part of the valley. There's something there at the southeast part of the valley, though, that I think is worth showing you. Just in reference, again, this, I'm not saying it's directly related to this, but we do have to point it out. Down here in the southeast part of the valley, we've got a bunch of drill points, oil and gas. But the earthquake is striking up in the foothills, so we are somewhat of a I only look 6 to 10 miles normally, and this is more like 20 miles away, the earthquake. But the drill points are there. And we're down in the southeast part of the valley. It goes all the way back up here through the valley, if it'll load, back up to Bakersfield, which is like drill point central. Take a look at the screen. See all of these little black dots on the ground? Every one of these is an oil well. Okay? And then you get the picture for how many there are. I mean, right? We just keep going. I mean, it goes all the way up here. So all the way through there. And then we go through town. Through Bakersfield, around the outside edge of Bakersfield. Following it back down this way. And then we pick back up down here. Here's the south part of the valley. And we've got more going through the farmers' fields. Across back up this way that I just showed you. All right. Why does it matter? Quake on both sides of there. Down to the south, I do not know. I literally have no clue what's out here in the Mojave Desert. Let's go look it up. 3.5, Big Bear City. I know we had the Big Bear earthquake many years ago. That was many years ago, but let's just put the quake in, or the coordinates in, and see where the quake struck. I know this is getting into a long video, but I'd like to look stuff up and see what's there. If I don't know what's there. Okay, anything of significance here worth mentioning? What is this? Gold Hill Substation. Oh, wow, okay, we got a big power substation right there. Electrical power, and what else is this? This looks like some kind of landfill of some kind, doesn't it? Well, that's interesting. A tailing pile, a landfill. Anything else worth mentioning here? Jeez. Power lines, landfill. You guys know, and I'll get into this at some other time maybe, talking about this, about the very low frequency electrical induced nature of human activity, and that goes down into the plate, the human electricity. So you get power stations,
power lines, earthquakes following the power lines, the transmission lines. This gets me into what happened in Illinois this past week, in case you didn't know. A 3.5 to 3.6 earthquake struck in Illinois. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and stop everything, and everybody please listen now, because everybody in the world somehow missed this. All the mainstream media, all the professionals, not one peep about this quake, this rare earthquake striking in Illinois just this past week. And make note, it's near 4.0 earthquake. It's in between St. Louis and Chicago. That got my attention, but I was shut off. I did not have internet access at the time. We're going to go pull the coordinates. Well, I had internet access, basic, like dial-up, but nothing I could stream with or tell you guys. Okay, let's go put the coordinates in and show you what's there. I was mind blown to see this. Everybody missing it. I'm not dogging everybody. I'm just saying who goes to check, right? Like, and here's the earthquake epicenter. And I started looking around. Of course, I have to zoom out to see if there's anything in the area. And I saw this over here. And then I saw the name of the place, Oglesby, Illinois, and LaSalle, Illinois. And I had heard of LaSalle. I just remembered I had heard about LaSalle, Illinois at some point in the past. And then you see it. Here's the LaSalle County Generating Station. It's a nuclear power plant. Okay, so it's the LaSalle Nuclear Power Plant. And that being said, with the nuclear power going on, we have to bring up all the other times we had significant rare earthquakes next to nuclear power plants. Byron, Illinois, several years ago, there was a rare earthquake that struck next to Byron, Illinois. B-Y-R-O-N, Illinois. There we go. Now, outside of Byron, Illinois is the Byron, Illinois nuclear power plant down here. Rare earthquake struck next to the location, 2 point something. Then, at the same time, there was a tritium leak from the facility. I drove up here and went and parked in the Ebenezer Reformed Church parking lot and parked right here, pointed the cameras this way, placed my Geiger counters out on the ground, and did all sorts of measurements and readings, and got that in video, which is on YouTube still, if you want to go see my radiation readings, up here at Byron, Illinois, when the tritium leak happened and the rare earthquake struck there. Everybody ignored the earthquake that struck there. Everybody ignored everything. I was the only person to go look it up, and that was the earthquake next to Byron. So now we have an earthquake next to LaSalle. And let me bring up another time that this happened recently, just a couple months ago, over here in Ohio. Over here in Ohio, I'll have to go find the nuclear power plant here. Here it is. Perry Nuclear Power Plant. Right next to it, a rare earthquake struck right along this road. This road. And there are also drill points for oil and gas here for methane. Methane deposits are in the ground here, but cannot overlook the nuclear power plant there with the rare earthquake there just last month or whatever it was, 2 months ago. Let me bring up another example for everybody in case you don't know about the connection between power generating stations and earthquakes. Human-induced very low frequency power in your wall, 60 hertz, low frequency of course. And we're talking about on the transmission lines as well, the earthquakes popping off below the transmission lines and power plants. It's not the nuclear aspect. But let me show you one more where this happened. The biggest earthquake on the East Coast in 100 years, a 6.0 earthquake, a 5.9 actually, struck at Mineral, Virginia in 2011. Everybody ignoring this, okay, what I'm about to show you. The biggest earthquake on the East Coast in 100 years struck here. It caused damage all the way up in the Washington, D.C. area and caused damage to the Washington Monument. You might remember this. It was a big earthquake on the East Coast in 2011. This lake right here, let's zoom in and show you. Along the lake is, let's just wait for it, the North Anna Nuclear Generating Power Station. Lake Anna and the Cuckoo Power Plant, actually, that it was called at the time, Cucko. So, Mineral, Virginia, right next to the nuclear power plant, there. Let me give you another example. If you're overseas, let's say you're over in the Netherlands. Dodewaard. Dodewaard, Netherlands. Dodewaard? Your old nuclear power plant, the one that's closed down. I don't know exactly where it is here. It's got to be along the river, right? I don't know exactly where it is. I'd have to find it. But the Dodewaard nuclear power plant had an earthquake next to it. So this has to do with very low frequency, and I think they still have some stuff in storage there. It has to do with electron cascade in the ground. Very low frequency, Mother Nature producing it down on the plate, humans producing it up above, and it's following the power lines and power generation stations. I'm not against nuclear. Even though I think it's kind of dangerous or whatever. But this happens below hydroelectric dams out west. This happens below solar farms out west, out in California. This happens below other countries' power plants, natural gas and coal. So it's not just nukes. It's just, I'm giving you examples of nuke plant after nuke plant that had an earthquake next to it that was rare and significant, and everybody somehow missed it or ignored it, which is extremely bizarre, right? I would like to point out that we were looking for a significant-sized earthquake to strike up in the Northeast. We have not seen anything up in the Northeast get reported at all, of any significant size at all, which is making me wonder, did somebody hit the off switch? Take a look at it. Not even a zero. Nothing. Instead, a whole line of quakes coming over and going right over to that military base I have not shown you. Should I show you? You want to see it? Hey, kids, want to see a military base? Earthquake down below it? Want to see somebody put in electronic jail? Hey, kids, you ever heard about censorship? That's okay. The military won't care. It's a small earthquake. I'm not blaming them either. It's not their fault. They build this stuff along Starfort. It's ancient. Wait, what's this? Hold on. What's this big lake? Hold on. What is this? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, God. You gotta be kidding me, man. You serious? All right, had to walk away from the microphone for a second, guys. Sorry. You kidding me, man? Bro. Hold on. Bro. The VC Summer Nuclear Station. Military. Well, the military's down here to the south. Never mind. Perfect place to sign off. How did I find any of this? Well, I found this by doing research on my own and not listening to all the people who said none of this was related to anything. All the deniers and people who said that everything was related to nothing and nothing was related to anything and everything was just bullshit and we just need to ignore it all. Yeah, I didn't listen to any of them. I kept looking and kept watching and kept track while everybody was in denial. Thank God. Oh my God, can you imagine if any one of my critics was in charge of discovering this stuff? I almost swore again. Stone Ages, man. Dude. You got an earthquake plan? We'll keep it serious. You got an earthquake plan, man? You know what to do when an earthquake strikes? You need to take shelter underneath a table or desk. Do not run around screaming earthquake. However, if you're overseas, they tell you to go outside because of the structures, the type structure that you're in. So really, you need to know, are you going to be if you're in a brick or cinder block structure, even if you're in the United States and it's a big earthquake, you probably would want to have an exit plan planned for after the earthquake. So, earthquake hits, and then you're probably going to be going outside. Now, if you're going to go outside, you need to know where to go. This is serious. You need to really know a safe spot to go that doesn't have power lines or sewer systems or gas line or gas main breaks. Falling things from higher than 10 feet. Not even. You know, in your house, you may just have to deal with falling drywall or falling plaster, whereas outside, you might be dealing with falling facades and broken windows falling from very high up. So you may want to think about that too. Now, whether you go outside or whether you stay inside, you need an emergency kit. This is for real. You need an emergency kit. And the emergency kit, change of clothes, set of shoes, flashlight, batteries, all that stuff that you know you need. First aid and sanitation, medicines if you require it, extra IDs, extra documentation, maybe extra cash. Who has that, right? And cash might not even be worth it. You might be better bartering with things. Somebody might want a cigarette more than a few bucks at the point of a disaster. You never know. Not promoting smoking, although never mind. You might want that, and you damn hippies might want your... Bro, I've got a Mars bar in my... Okay. Anyway, you will develop a plan that's specific for your lifestyle. I would recommend that you do it, though. Don't wait for somebody to come save you in a disaster. You might be waiting a long time, even if it's just a few days. Remember Katrina and the government debacle on trying to save a city of people that were underwater. And look at what happened with Hawaii and the evacuations with the fires. I'm telling you, you guys, if you rely on the government for your well-being, you're going to be a liability to everyone else. No offense. The government responds to stuff. They're never there right when you need them. Same with the cops. Preventative measures are on you. It's called being responsible. I'm not very good at that, so I'll just go ahead and tell you that you're supposed to be. Hey, look, I'm keeping it real. I'll bash myself before I bash anybody else. Okay. 7:04 p.m. Central Time. Let's go ahead and save this as a video upload, but it's worth it. Let's get it out over on YouTube. Keep watch for the next several days. I've got my warnings going down at Central America, going into South America, up at Japan, and going further over to the West. I didn't even really talk about Europe in this update, but I will just tell you, over in Europe, energy is going around the outside edge of Europe. Romania got hit. Poland got hit. We saw this all take place. Italy got hit this past week. You're going to get hit again. This time it's going to be Albania, Bosnia. I've got a lot of viewers over here. You know what? Let's just go ahead and end this video by issuing this warning for South Central Europe that just beyond Greece. So we have Albania, Bulgaria, we have Bosnia and Kosovo and all the east of Italy, Slovenia, Slovakia, and right in here. Okay, so we need to watch at the center of this. This takes us pretty much down into Bosnia, going down into Albania for our significant earthquake to strike. And I would think it's going to be most likely in the 5 range, basing it upon all the energy going out of the West Pacific. We got 4s going across the plate. We're going to get a big break here. That's the other warning that I talked about in this update. That's at the Iran-Iraq border region. That should be pretty big. And then we go up into Europe, and a 5 is... It's significant. Whenever you get a 5 or anything bigger, and you're already dealing with 5s, this going out to Turkey a few days ago, so it's a no-brainer. To me, it's a no-brainer. You're going to be dealing with 5s. And then up to the north, how about Iceland just, poof. Bye-bye. The next wave is coming in. You're going to see a new excitement back in Iceland. Look where both sets of rings overlap on the X. So this takes us right onto central Iceland, I think. Although if it hits South Iceland, it's a matter of 100 miles, so 200 miles. But right at the center, where the X is where we'll watch between both sets of 4s, the 4.3 down at South Greenland and the 4.5 on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge next to Jan Mayen Island. Jan Mayen! Janmayen? Whatever. You guys, be safe. Much love. I'll be back, hopefully. If anything else big strikes, I'll jump back on at a moment's notice. Peace out.